Okay, I'm PJ Wilson. I'm the Director of Solar for Puerto Rico. We're here distributing 50,000 solar kits to communities that don't have power by May. My brief story, I grew up on a farm in Missouri. My parents were both school teachers. I studied civil engineering as an undergraduate. I did the Peace Corps in Central America and Honduras, and that's where I learned Spanish. After that, I studied at a place called the Solar Living Institute, a nonprofit in Northern California that teaches the basics of solar and wind, permaculture, these things. And I've spent the last 10 years in my home state of Missouri developing the solar and wind industries there. I started off working for a couple of small solar companies, and they both complained about how we didn't have the right policies in place. So long story short, I raised $7 million over the last 10 years and created more than $2 billion in economic development for solar and wind in Missouri. I took the state from having less than 100 homes with solar panels to over 15,000 today. One of the things I did along the way was create an industry association for the solar companies called Missouri SEIA, or MOSEIA, the Solar Energy Industries Association. It's a chapter of the National Solar Association. I retired from that role last summer, and so when the hurricane hit, when Hurricane Maria hit this fall, I thought, well, maybe I could take the skill sets that I've learned in the civil engineering and the Peace Corps and my development of renewable energy in Missouri and help out. I honestly didn't know when I first came. I had a little bit of hesitation because I thought, well, if I come to Puerto Rico, am I just going to be drinking the water and eating their food? So I brought a couple of water filters with me and some freeze-dried food, just in case me being here was going to be a burden on the society. But what I found when I got here is that this is by far the most friendly, open, peaceful, safe Latin American country that I've lived in. And I found that the solar technology that I brought with me, when I first came I brought 20 kits, and then I had another 10 brought to me by someone who came to visit. So far we've distributed 125 of these kits, and we just had another 300 arrive this week and have been distributing them as well. My very first day here, when I went to distribute my first kit, is when I met Laura.
Bueno, hola, mi nombre es Laura. Antes del huracán María yo tengo mi propia compañía de web marketing y web development. Ya luego del huracán, obviamente no había luz, no había wifi, no había absolutamente nada. Hasta que conocí a Patrick. En mi casa no teníamos ni tenemos generador. Así que él llegó con los pequeños kits solares que nos dieron un poco de vida, nos dieron un poco de luz, podríamos cargar los celulares, podíamos poner un abanico de USB y desde entonces lo he empezado a ayudar para que conozca más acerca de Puerto Rico e ir a todos los lugares donde todavía se necesita mucha ayuda.
When I first came, I was buying products on Amazon. I was buying batteries and solar panels separately, and lights and fans. And then along the way, I found that there's kits that are pre-made that are cheaper than buying the components separately. So what we have here today is the two primary kits that we've been distributing. This one here is a 6-watt kit. It's two 3-watt panels that are wired together. One thing that's important that it has a really long cord on it, and what that enables is for the solar panels to actually go on the roof where they can be in the sunshine all day, and it plugs into this battery pack here. This battery pack has, it's just a micro USB port, which is good for Puerto Rico because everyone here uses Android phones, so it's a very standard connection. The micro USB port fits in here. You could also charge this with a wall plug, the same kind of charger that you charge your cell phone with if you have access to electricity, or if a neighbor has electricity, or if you have a car that has electricity. But primarily these solar panels charge up the battery in about 4 hours. So you plug this in here, and this little red light goes on saying it's charging. Even though this is indoors, it's charging a little bit right now, the sunlight from outside. There's 3 ports in this model. It has 2 that are intended for light bulbs to be plugged in, and then 1 for cell phone charging. And then what happens when you turn it on here is that the 2-watt light bulb that it comes with, notice it also has a very long cord on it, so this enables you to put it in 2 different rooms. It puts off a lot of light. When it's dark outside, this really lights up a room easily. This kit we're distributing at a cost of $50, and it's good for 1, 2, or 3 people, a family of 1, 2, or 3 people. There's a kit that's about twice as big. It actually has 5 times as much solar. It's 3 of these 10-watt solar panels here, and this plugs into the back of this larger battery. which is the same concept, only it comes with 4 light bulbs and a port for cell phone charging as well. One of the biggest educational hurdles we've found so far is teaching people that solar panels can get wet. People want to take good care of this stuff, especially if it's the only way that they have to charge their cell phones. So we've found numerous people that we've gone to and distributed this to and explained clearly that the solar panels can get wet. You put them on the roof, they're meant to get wet, and you keep the battery inside and dry. And if we go back a couple weeks later, lots of them have said, oh, this doesn't work very good, and it'll be in their closet. And we say, why is it in your closet? And they say, oh, it rained outside, so we brought it in from the rain. So now when we distribute these kits, we take a glass of water and we throw it on the solar panels to explain that it is waterproof. You have to leave these solar panels outside all the time in order for it to charge the batteries. Funding-wise, we have raised $125,000 so far. Our goal is $1.5 million, because with that much money, we can buy 10,000 of these kits. The goal is to distribute 50,000 of these by May, and we only need enough funding for 10,000 of them because we have a unique model as a 501c3 where we're able to, so far we've only been giving these kits away for free. We've been giving them away to community leaders and people that we know that have recommended people that are without power or especially in need. The funding model we have now, though, is for every $100,000 that's given, 20% of that, or $20,000, goes to our overhead costs. 5% goes to kits that are given away for free to communities, to community leaders, and then 75% goes into a revolving fund. So if you give $100,000, 75% of that goes to purchasing these products that are distributed, and then we then recoup that $75,000 and buy another $75,000 worth of materials. Distribute that, recoup that $75,000. So in that way, we're going to be able to distribute $5 million worth of solar panels for only $1.5 million. And at the end of that process, we'll have $1 million left in that revolving fund so that we're ready to deploy when the next hurricane hits. It's taken us 4 months to build up to scale now for the point where we're distributing these we're ordering them hundreds at a time, but we need to get to the place where we're ordering them thousands at a time. There's also an economy of scale there, because when you order things thousands at a time, you get a much cheaper rate. We're buying all these products from China so far, because that's where they're available. I think that we're going to get to the point where we're manufacturing these here, or at least assembling them here and supporting the local economy and Puerto Rican jobs as well. Do you want to talk about some of the communities that we've helped so far?
Pues ya hemos estado en Isabela, hemos estado en Ciales, en Toro Negro. La última comunidad que visitamos fue Patilla, estuvimos en Los Bajos, estuvimos en Los Pollos de Patilla, y todavía aquí en Puerto Rico hay muchísima necesidad, y sobre todo lo que nosotros queremos hacer es por lo menos que la gente se eduque en lo que es la energía solar. Hay mucha gente que no tiene el conocimiento acerca de cómo funcionan las placas solares, acerca de cómo funciona una batería. Y obviamente con toda la inestabilidad del sistema eléctrico que tenemos acá en Puerto Rico, y ha surgido un movimiento económico grande de muchas compañías particulares vendiendo placas solares, y la gente quiere adquirirlas y quiero la placa solar o quiero la batería de Tesla, pero la gente no conoce acerca de estas tecnologías. Así que nosotros, eso es como que el principal objetivo que nosotros tenemos como Fundación Sin Fines de Lucro, poder educarlos y que ellos conozcan más acerca de lo que es la energía solar.
What Tesla has done has been great in that they responded right away. They sent over some of their huge power packs, and it's thanks to Tesla that we didn't have a much bigger outbreak of infectious diseases from water-borne illnesses, because they deployed those power packs to towns that had water systems that were still functioning after the hurricane, but they didn't have electricity. So their power packs went to power water up the hill or up into their water towers, and that was a great help. So as Tesla sort of has been helping with solar from the biggest level down, we're starting at the grassroots level up with these tiny solar kits. As we get more funding, we're also going to develop a $250 model and a $500 model that'll power CPAP machines and TVs, DVD players, and give people a little bit more of a quality of life as well.
You know, the last figures was around 400,000 people still without power in Puerto Rico. How are you identifying the municipalities or where these people live, where are the towns that you need to target and so forth. You getting any government help, any information from the government as to how or what areas are best to target to be able to help the families and the homes?
That's a good question. You've probably seen in the news recently that the utility company here is so dysfunctional that the governor announced last week that it's disbanding the utility company. It's all but useless. We've met lots of people that have not had power since previous hurricanes, and the utility company has just said, well, you're too far away, we're not even going to reconnect you to the grid. So it's the only utility I've ever seen that can't tell you at a moment's notice who does and who doesn't have power on their system. They aren't responding. If they have that information, then they're not providing it. So what we're dependent upon right now is information that's published in the newspapers by the local universities. There's a university in Mayaguez that's sort of the local like MIT of Puerto Rico, and they've been working to get information out as best they can about where there is and isn't power. Tomorrow I'm meeting with Jose Ramon. He's the interim director of the Energy Commission. The Energy Commission is recently formed by the legislature 2 years ago to regulate the utility company, PREPA. And my request when I meet with him is going to be that he force PREPA to release the data about who does and who doesn't have power and where they're planning to distribute power next. Because as much as we want to help everybody, if there's a community that's going to get power in a week, then we're going to deprioritize them compared to a community that's not going to get power for 9 months. We want to go to the places where people are in the worst shape and are the last likely to get connected to the grid, and sort of work backwards from that point.
You know, we've heard through the media sources, news sources, Punta Santiago was very, and Humacao was very much hit. Have you visited Humacao? Have you gone to Punta Santiago?
I haven't yet. We've been to Utuado a couple of times, which is close to Humacao. I want to go to Humacao soon because what I hear is that that's a place that has the strongest traditions, the strongest local traditions of Puerto Rico. It's a very resilient community, but I haven't been there yet. Have you been there?
Yes, I have been a couple of times. And the other source that we've been receiving is from the local mayors or leaders. Each town here in Puerto Rico got a place that is still without power.
Yeah, that's something it's a misnomer in the news. People when they first come here usually say, "Oh, well, San Juan, it has power, right?" No, where we live in San Juan, we don't know from one day to the next if there's going to be power or not. So even the areas that are energized with power, there's no place on this island that has reliable power, and there actually hasn't been for a long time. One of the ritziest communities on the whole island is called Palmas del Mar, and they haven't had reliable power ever. It's an hour or two every single day they're without power. It's because the infrastructure here is so old and broken down that it hasn't been updated in decades. So as the population grows and the electric demand grows, if you don't upgrade the power infrastructure, then there's just not, it's like extension cords in your house that aren't big enough. They get overheated, they break down, and because of mismanagement of funds, PREPA declared bankruptcy last summer before the hurricane even hit. So it's a really unfortunate combination of things that added up to the island having no solvency. When the hurricane hit, they didn't have their own funds to front the aid groups that came in. That's why they signed the contract with Whitefish and then wasted money on that. There's been just a long story of mismanaged funds. But if you go and talk to people in the country, they don't have hope of help from anywhere. If they have any intelligence of someone coming to help them, they don't trust it.
Are you working with any solar companies in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, we are. We're partnered most closely with a solar company called New Energy. They've been in operation for 10 years here. They do commercial and residential installations. And actually, I've done the same thing that I did in Missouri, which is create an industry association, the local chapter of the Solar Energy Industry Association that's affiliated with the national chapter. And through that, we've networked with all of the solar companies on the island. We just had our conference last week, actually, on Thursday and Friday. 125 people attended. Basically, all of the leaders in the solar, battery, and microgrid development community have come together to figure out how to collaborate and what projects they can work together on, how they can get financing and funding. Right now there's only one company that's providing financing for the solar systems here. So but there needs to be more of those companies. That's one of the reasons I brought the solar installers together. So there actually are a number of solar companies. There's New Energy, there's Maximo Solar, Planet Solar, Pura Energia. There's 10 solar companies around the island, but there's a lot more solar companies that are coming and setting up shop here. And if all the solar companies on the island did 5 times as much business as they did last year, it would still take them too long to get to all of the people that need to have power.
Do you have a web page?
Yeah, our website is solarforpuertorico.org, all spelled out, Solar F-O-R Puerto Rico. There's a Facebook page too. On Facebook, if you just put Solar for Puerto Rico, that's how you can find us. Business model wise, we are a 501c3. We have our application submitted to the IRS to become an official 501c3, but until that application gets approved, we're part of a 501c3 called the Players Philanthropic Fund. So that's where donations that come in, 6% of that, and that comes out of the 20% administrative fee, 6% goes to the Players Philanthropic Fund, who is providing the 501c3 umbrella that we're part of right now.
Thank you. Anything else?
We are urging as much support as possible. When we get to the $1 million mark is when we're going to be able to buy these in the kind of volume that is needed in order to get to the 50,000 kits distributed by May. So any help that's able to be provided, the sooner the better.
Any big foundations you've met with as far as helping you financially to?
You know, the foundation support we've got so far has come from family foundations. There's a family foundation in Seattle that gave us an $89,000 grant, and there's another family foundation actually also in Seattle that's considering a $150,000 grant to us next. The family foundations have in general been able to move more quickly and provide support a lot more quickly than some of the big players. You probably read in the news how the Clinton Foundation is supporting. Well, they haven't actually supported with any dollars yet. They're still trying to figure out the best way that they can get involved in helping. The Solar Foundation is out of DC. They're raising some money and helping some of the clinics. We're also networking with other nonprofits. There's another nonprofit called Empowered by Light, and they're focused on the fire stations. They're getting $25,000 solar installations on fire stations because firemen need reliable power, and they don't even care about solar, but it just happens to be that solar and batteries is much more reliable than the local grid is here. There's some others that are focused on hospitals. So at the same time that we're staying focused on distributing these tiny solar kits, we're also networking with all the nonprofits and government agencies and foundations that are interested in helping Puerto Rico with solar energy in any way.
Okay, thank you.